Okay, this is about what makes the Oxus Civilization so special in human history. The Oxus Civilization is a lost Central Asian civilization that formed out of the Sintasha civilization, which in turn formed out of the Yamnaya, out of Ukraine. So the Yamnaya spread east, forming Sintasha, which then spread a bit south. So at this point, the chariot was invented, and what's interesting about the Oxus civilization and the Sintasha is that they used a 12-spoke chariot wheel. So the 12 spokes is obviously critical to my claim about meditation. If you look at my Ancient Advanced Acoustic Alchemy book, and I focus on how the 12 notes of the music scale were considered part of yoga. What yoga means also to yoke, as in the chariot wheel being yoked to the horses, and that's a crucial metaphor in yoga philosophy in India. And so the 12 spokes of the wheel are the key to the 12 notes of the music scale as yoga, meditation, for alchemy. So here we have the Oxus civilization, a little bit south of this Sintasha. So the Sintasha are considered to be Proto-Indo-Iranians. In other words, from the Sintasha was formed both the Vedic culture of India and the Zoroastrian culture of Iran, which was a huge influence then on the Levant and Western Asian Anatolia culture, which became Pythagorean philosophy. So this brings us to the research of Matthew Clark, and he did his, I think it was a PhD, on publishing peer-reviewed research that the ancient Soma drink of the Vedic culture and the Halma drink of the Zoroastrians, which also was used by Jewish cultures in Egypt, in Elephantine Egypt, after the Jews had been taken into the Zoroastrian culture. I guess they were enslaved, I don't know. But so his point is that drink was actually an ayahuasca analog as a psychedelic spiritual training. It caused visions. He's a research associate at the University of London. So he's on YouTube giving interviews, and he emphasizes how the eruption of Mount Thera in the Mediterranean was a big sort of like collapse of the early Bronze Age. And so he's arguing that Syrian rue was the MAOI, which prevents the uptake of serotonin by the serotonin receptors, and then you combine that with canary grass as the main source for DMT. And I myself took a very strong ayahuasca analog that used Syrian rue as the MAOI, so I know it works as an MAOI. Actually, we use the seeds, Syrian rue seeds, that just grind it up and drink them with some lemon juice. Okay, so the close connections between ancient Zoroastrian and Vedic religion have been comprehensively explored by scholars over the last century. This is the universally accepted consensus that Zoroastrianism and Vedic religion have a common origin, which was the Upper Oxus region of Turkmenistan. What's really interesting is that Gurdjieff traveled to this region to focus on his own religious study, which is like a Pythagorean Tibetan yoga combination that was like Mahayana Buddhism mixed with Pythagorean, based on this music secret that he called the Law of Three, which the Law of Three is really this same ancient non-commutative secret that's also the secret of Taoism. So this also moved east into China too. So you have this focus on the chariot wheel in Taoism also. Migrations of people from Central Asia around 1600 BCE resulted in the cult of Soma Haoma being transmitted both to Persia, where it formed the central constituent of Zoroastrianism, and to South Asia in the form of Vedic religion. So here we have this ancient secret Oxus civilization as the core, with this psychedelic yoga training based on the 12 spokes of the chariot wheel that I have focused on in terms of the psychophysiology and the quantum biology secrets of alchemy. And this went east into China as Taoism, and south into India as Vedic religion, and then west into Iran for Zoroastrianism. So the steppe ancestry integrated further south in the first half of the second millennium BCE, contributing up to 30% of ancestry of modern groups in South Asia. The steppe ancestry in South Asia has the same profile as that in Bronze Age Eastern Europe. That'd be like Slovakian, tracking a movement of people that affected both regions and that likely spread the unique features shared between Indo-Iranian and Baltic Slavic languages. So this is really like a key Oxus civilization was just like a key founding civilization that doesn't get. There's a couple of videos about it on YouTube. There's like, well, I found these two lectures about it. So here you have the 12-spoke wheel that was used. It was the focus of the Santasha culture. Whereas, like by the time it gets to the Levant or whatever, they're not using as many spokes. The chariot of the sun god has only one wheel, which is known as Samvartsara. The 12 months are calculated to be its 12 spokes. So my point is that the 12 spokes related to the 12 months of astrology are also key to the 12 notes of the music scale based on the perfect fifth and perfect fourth as being a non-commutative phase that's actually this like inherent twist to the wheel that's non-local, or you could call it psychedelic. So here you have these. This is from an archaeological site. You can see these are the wheels right here with the 12 spokes. She calls them wheels in her talk. So then by the time we get to the Levant, we have this secret mother of God worship in Turkey and northern Canaan, which was Asherah, the god of Yahweh, and this got covered up. And there's a new talk by Dr. Margaret Barker about the Great Lady and the Mother of the Lord. She's got 2 books that are published in small press in England, so they're really expensive to buy. But fortunately, she gives lots of talks on YouTube. And I did find one of her books in archive that I clipped out a bunch of quotes from it. But she's basically arguing that Pythagorean philosophy was closely tied to this Judaic philosophy by what? There's the spokes of the wheels, of the Ezekiel wheel. Now, they don't say 12 spokes, but my claim is that it's originating from this Oxum culture, because there's also research that they used the Elephantine in Egypt. The Jewish culture in Elephantine Egypt also used halma. They drank halma, which is a psychedelic visionary drink. So in the Apocalypse of Moses, there's a chariot theme in the Garden of God, from which judgment is passed on Adam. The throne of God. So the other thing is, we find that Adam actually originated from the Ugarit, whatever mythology of Adamus, so it's an older northern Canaan view, but you have basically this Garden of God. This is from Sumerian, so it's like an ancient connection to yoga meditation. This is what Sri Yukteswar says this also in his book, The Holy Science. So she's connecting the tree of life with the mother of God, which would be like the cosmic mother that can never be seen. This is the whole point, is that you can't see it, you have to listen to it. And that's the secret of the Word of God, is that the truth of God is invisible. It has to be listened to and logically inferred. And this is also the truth of Vedic philosophy. This Apocalypse is a relatively late text. So Ezekiel, the description of Eden in Ezekiel is almost certainly older than that of Genesis. So you have the four directions, the four faces of the chariot as cherubim, but it's connected with harps and lyres. So you find the same thing in Sumerian culture, where you have the worship of God is closely tied with music, and with these sacred ratios of music, which is also tied to then the sacred mathematics to make the chariot wheel. The early attempt to square the circle. And so when you look at the really ancient mother goddess worship in Western Asia, it's documented by archaeology to go all the way back 8,000 years ago, when farming was just being started. And at that time, you had an emphasis on the worship of the mother goddess. And so here we have it tied where she's pointing out that the throne of God was actually fixed where the tree of life was. So this is really fascinating that she connects the chariot and the spokes of the wheel with the Garden of Eden, because that directly connects with the tree of life and the tree of knowledge that Sri Yukteswar points out. The tree of life is the Lord Antien, the second chakra, and the tree of knowledge is the third eye, and the snake is then the Kundalini energy that's connecting it to the mother of the Lord, the mother of God. And so this explains the secrets of Judaism as well. So here you have a whole book on the world of the Oxus Civilization that was published recently. Here's another talk on it. He's just talking about how the environmental change, it changed, but you can see where, just like in early agriculture, they probably increased the drought level because they were doing deforestation to waterproof their housing with lime ash cement. And that caused the spread of early farmers into Europe, and then also into North Africa as the Berbers, and then also into Armenia, as I just posted on. We're talking like 8,000 years ago. So after it spread into Armenia, then it spread up to Caucasus to become the Yamnaya culture by like 6,000 years ago, and then that spread across central the steppes of Asia to Central Asia and down south as the Oxus Civilization, and then spread back down into India, and then back into Iran as Zoroastrianism. So here's the book about Soma and Haoma as the earliest recorded plants that produce religious ecstasy. Mentioned in the sacred texts of the Brahmins, the Vedas, and the Zoroastrian Avesta, respectively. The mystery has been contested by the mystery of their identity has long been contested by scholars. He did get his PhD on this subject, proposed that Soma and Haoma is instead an ayahuasca-like plant complex. So again, I have tested out this ayahuasca analog, and it's very powerful. It activates the Kundalini. I did it in full lotus, and he's saying how traditionally you had to fast and be celibate when you did this psychedelic. So I tested that out. It completely is a catalyst for the Kundalini energy that then opens up the third eye. And I write about that in my 2012 book. So I'm very happy, very glad that he's discovered the secret of Soma and Haoma originally, because I always thought the other attempts were not very valid. None of which have, however, reliably fit available evidence. So it kind of makes sense that the ancients would have created this ayahuasca analog, because the Syrian rue is MAOI, and then the canary grass as the source of DMT. It fits because we've certainly done that in modern times, where we've developed these ayahuasca analogs. And I mean, his research is very detailed, like Dave. Yeah, he's got interviews. So here he is being interviewed in detail. I'll post the links in the video. This is from 3 years ago, from 4 years ago, Cambridge Psychedelic Society. Yeah, Mimosa Hostilis and Syrian Rue is what I did. And 5 years ago, so he's been at this a long time. Obviously he's going against the grain, because there's been these popular, like they've sort of just assumed the ancient ritual drink used in religious ceremonies known as Soma in India and Haoma in Zoroastrian tradition is praised in the highest terms as a kind of deity in both Zoroastrian and Vedic texts, which date from 1700 to 1500 BCE. So the point here is that this practice originates from this Oxus culture. Here it is. So I quoted, this is actually a quote from Dr. Matthew Clark about the Soma and Haoma being transmitted to both Persia and Zoroastrian in South Asia. Zedic is from Central Asia, 1600 BCE, in the upper Oxus region of Turkmenistan. So another of the Bronze Age centers of civilization that collapsed quite quickly. Again, he's arguing that it collapsed due to the Mount Thera volcanic explosion. But it flourished from 2200 to 1700 BCE, so it flourished for 500 years. And Russian archaeologist Sardia and Danidi studied this area for 40 years and found large vats that appear to have been used to store pressing juices for this origin of Soma and Haoma. Very fascinating. So even the Sam Bushmen, they did use some kind of psychedelic tool like plant to help them activate the energy. And they would mainly use it like the women would use it. Of course, the women were the original spiritual healers, so we should not dismiss this key use of plant medicine. And so here's this whole book on Oxus Civilization. Let's see if that let's see if that one Russian archaeologist is in here that he just cited. List of contributors. Okay. Part 2. I don't see that guy yet. So my point here is there's a ton of research being done on this Oxus civilization. And actually this was there was a whole, let me close out this stuff. There was a whole lecture series that I link on my blog. Oop, I closed it out. Here we go. So yeah, so they did a whole lecture series based on that book. This was part of that. Whoops. Did I even link this? Here we go. Yeah, so that book that is right here is actually, there was a series of talks given by the people who are published in that book. Dr. Vadati and Bisconi. Vadati and Bisconi. Oh, here's part 3. Here, see right here. Vadati and Bisconi and Vadati. So basically, the people that published in this book also gave these talks on YouTube, which is pretty cool to have that. And since it's like really good science, there's hardly any comments, not many views, because let's face it, most people are on the internet to watch, what do you call that? When you wiggle your backside. Twerking. There. Okay. Where's the series? Okay, distribution. It's in the Art and Archaeology of Southwest Asia. Yeah. 4 years ago. Thought there'd be like a playlist out of it. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. Here we go. 4 years ago. Here we go. Distribution. New approaches. They didn't make a playlist out of it. A warehouse in 3rd millennial BC. Proto-Elamite tablets. See, this looks fascinating. 4 years ago. Yeah, so they're covering this whole early Bronze Age, and this is really, when people are into like Tartaria or whatever, I'd say that this is the way to go. Focus on the Oxus civilization as the early Bronze Age that was connecting this whole region. As they point out, this whole region was connected in the early Bronze Age with trade and via this psychedelic ayahuasca analog. So there was probably like a lot less warfare. Well, I mean, obviously you got the chariot wheels, so you did have warfare, but I'm just saying that here we got this lady did a
One of these subgroups was the Fate Novo Balanovo culture. Over the
she did a video on it. It's
between
pretty good. She's more focused on the linguistics.
Or the BMAC at Gondor Tepe, and were a
So
highly
that's what
advanced
it
civilization
looked like.
comparable to the Harappans and Mesopotamians. Yet we don't hear about it much today. But this ancient culture had
Highly
Oxus
advanced
Civilization.
compared to the
You've
Harappan.
probably never heard of it, and I don't blame you. The civilization had built great fortified cities like the
And
one
that's
at
what it
Gondor
looked like.
Tepe,
It's pretty
and
wild.
were a highly advanced civilization.
Yeah. Let's get a closer look at this. So she's got the big vats, but she doesn't say that they were full of psychedelic. Let me see if I can.
In this area, near the Sir and Amu Darya rivers, the Indo-Iranians seem to have adopted many things from local cultures, such as the very culturally important Soma drink, various
There,
loanwords,
she
and
does
even
say Soma
deities.
drink.
This area was a missing link in our story. This area was the home of the Oxus Civilization. You've probably never heard of it, and I don't blame you. The civilization had built great fortified cities like the one at Gondor Tepe, and were a highly advanced civilization comparable to the Harappans and Mesopotamians. Yet we don't hear about it much today. But this ancient culture had a huge impact on Indo-Iranian culture.
And it
The
went into
Oxus
China
Civilization,
too.
also known as
Went
the
east.
Bactria Margiana Archaeological Complex, or the BMAC, also had a significant impact on Indo-Iranian culture. The BMAC was a collection of Bronze Age.
So this is the point: is that this like great ancient civilization was also the source of this ayahuasca analog psychedelic that then got created into the axial religions of the Levant of for Judaism out of and mixed with Zoroastrianism and Vedic religion, and then that turned into like Christianity and Islam, and it all comes from this Oxus civilization of the early Bronze Age. So she's focused on linguistics. She's getting into later. So basically, you had this like early proto Indo-European that spread west here, and that had a big influence on the development of Judaism also. So yeah, see, look. So there you go. It's a hit key secret ancient civilization. He's doing this weird DNA analysis, but see what else he's got for DNA. Neolithic Ukrainian. Okay, genetics of Iranian farmers. Here we go, the mysterious white Chinese people.
The Takarians were 51% ancient North Eurasian, 23%
North
related
Eurasia.
Ephes, slightly more common than snub noses, and in addition to bipolar 1 and schizophrenia.
He's fixated on DNA, so that's it. I don't believe in this genetic. Here we go. This is what I'm trying to get at. Is you had this Proto-Indo-European that spread east, and then it went south. So this is the Oxus civilizations here. So he's saying, so basically you had the Sinastra went south from here, and then so he's saying the Tocharian actually originated from here. But you can see obviously it's related. So there you go. That answers that question. Now, when we get back into these lectures are based on like I said, they're based on that book that came out 4 years ago. So there's a lot of lectures in here. They should have made it into a playlist. Early Urbanization Series, the first series. Maybe this is it. Early Urbanization. Kind of a... Yep, here we go. So if we save this playlist and we can play the whole playlist, and then we'll be experts on this. This doesn't quite focus on the Oxus Civilization. What about the second series? Here we go. It's in the second series. So those both will be good. I'm going to watch those. So then I can learn. I'll just play the whole playlist. That'll be easier. So this is my point, is that the Halma, the Ayahuasca Analog, was key to this development of what became religion, left brain dominant, with the development of writing. But before you really had the development of writing, you had this discovery of Ayahuasca Analog as a sacred drink that then developed into yoga philosophy based on this secret of the 12 spokes of the wheel, of the chariot, as the 12 energy points that are used to circulate the energy. And I go into all the details in my book, Ancient Advanced Acoustic Alchemy. I want to thank people for checking out my free book. Does somebody cite my research? I didn't post this. It's on Docdroid. Docdroid's probably the easiest way to get it. Somebody uploaded it to Docdroid. I don't know if these are... Oh, here we go. The 12-wheel Dharmakaya. Well, I already posted this 12-wheel thing a couple of years ago. Yeah, I did a whole video on this that I will link. I'll post it in this video here. There. Okay. Thanks for your time. Wait, let me just check out this link. Verify that I'm human. I don't know if I'm human. Source sounds source ancient. Yeah, this person. I think I've corresponded with this person. They cite my research. Okay. Let's see if this book says anything about Soma or Halma. Okay, we're gonna download this. Halma. No, that's somebody's last name. That doesn't help. Drinking vase. Vase. Sacred place for fire. Sacred word. Metallurgical. So that's where you get into the alchemy, is when you have this early metallurgy. Anyway, we can research that more.